Argentina confirmed its return to the Union of South American Nations, UNASUR. Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Belarusian counterpart discussed on Thursday expanding economic cooperation and strengthening defense ties between the two countries. The Israeli army deployed an airstrike on the Gaza Strip for the second consecutive day as tensions grow. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Argentina has confirmed on Wednesday its return to the Union of South American Nations, UNASUR. The Argentine president himself, Alberto Fernández, has been in charge of communicating the decision. During an official visit to Chile, the Argentine president, accompanied by Gabriel Boric, the House president, formalized the announcement. In 2019, Argentine former President Mauricio Macri precipitated the exit of this other nation from the group, accusing the ideological content of the forum. Fernández, in addition to confirming his country's return, also announced the return of Brazil to the organism.
Argentina has already formalized its entry to UNASUR. Tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, Brazil will do the same. And I have suggested to President Gabriel Boric that we have to work together to rebuild UNASUR. But the UNASUR of these times, not the UNASUR we used to know. The UNASUR we knew had the virtue that it was possible to coexist in UNASUR beyond ideological difference that is no longer enough. We should take it for granted. What we have to guarantee is an UNASUR that serves the economic development of our peoples.
The Brazilian government announced on Wednesday the creation of an inter-ministerial working group to analyze various preventive measures to help combat violence in the school environment after 4 children were murdered in a daycare center on Wednesday. The information was given by the Minister of Education, Camilo Santana, alongside his counterpart of Justice, Flavio Dino. This working group will be integrated by the Ministries of Education, Justice and Public Security, Human Rights and Citizenship, and the General Secretary of the Presidency, and the first meeting will be held this Thursday. According to the Minister Santana, the group will have a budget to reinforce the patrolling by the police in the surrounding of the schools, among other actions. On Thursday, the International Court of Justice dismissed Venezuela's preliminary objections in a case brought by Guyana as part of the legal actions in the dispute between Venezuela and Guyana over the territory of Guyana Esequiba. In a plenary session, the court adopts Venezuela's request that the matter be resolved diplomatically and not judicially. Venezuela demands that the agreement to resolve the dispute between Venezuela and the United Kingdom on the border between Venezuela and British Guyana be respected. After the ruling, the court will proceed to hear the merits of the case to determine whether the 1999 arbitrary award is valid. The court established the timeline of the event and the legal advances from both parties of the legal dispute and the ways for a peaceful resolution and the role of the United Nations in the development of the process.
Foregoing, the court concludes that by virtue of being a party to the Geneva Agreement, the United Kingdom accepted that the dispute between Guyana and Venezuela could be settled by one of the means set out in Article 33 of the Charter of the United Nations, and that it would have no role in that procedure. Under these circumstances, the court considers that the monetary gold principle does not come into play in this case. It follows that if the court, in its judgment on the merits, were called to pronounce on certain conduct attributable to the United Kingdom, which cannot be determined at present, this would not preclude the court from exercising its jurisdiction, which is based on the application of the Geneva Agreement. The preliminary objection raised by Venezuela must therefore be rejected.
On Thursday, the government of Venezuela issued a statement in response to the resolution of the International Court of Justice regarding the preliminary objections presented by Caracas against the unilateral claim of Cooperative Republic of Guyana on the validity of arbitration award of October 3rd, 1999. The Executive Vice President of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, referred the response to the government of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela to ruling of the International Court of Justice on the dispute over the territory of Guyana Essequiba. According to Rodriguez, the government of Venezuela celebrates that the International Court of Justice validates its argument to settle the controversy with Guyana over the Essequibo territory. Furthermore, the Executive Vice President emphasized that the measure will be evaluated exhaustively as well as their respective implication.
Venezuela is rejoiced that the sentence by the International Court it makes valid our argument. First to recognize that this behavior, fraudulent behavior, can review, and second, it makes clear the existence of the Geneva Accord of 1866, which is the only instrument valid to define this controversy.
A Chinese delegation headed by Chancellor Yu Wu visited Honduras with the purpose of organizing the future embassy of the Asian Union after the establishment of diplomatic relations. The deputy for the Libertad y Refundación Libre Party, Xiomara Zelaya, stated that the visitors were received by the presidential advisor Manuel Zelaya and the Honduran Foreign Minister Enrique Reina. Through a message on the social network Twitter, the also president of the International Relations and Regional Integration Commission of the National Congress pointed out that the Chinese delegation is also organizing an official visit to Beijing by the President Xiomara Castro. Last week, the Chinese government invited Castro to visit the Asian country after establishing diplomatic ties. On Thursday, the national grouping of Haitian education workers called on the government to create adequate conditions for the continuity of learning activities at a time when many schools are closing due to insecurity. The union organization expressed concern over the growing number of kidnappings that hindered the operativity of the educational institutions. In addition, that body warns that the clashes between armed groups endanger the lives of teachers, students, school officials, and even employees of the Ministry of Education. Let's take a very short break now, but remember you can now follow us on our TikTok account, teleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. International Monetary Fund Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva warned on Thursday that a continued slowdown in nearly all the world's advanced economy will drag global growth below 3% this year. In a speech ahead of the International Monetary Fund and a World Bank sprint meetings, Georgieva pointed to rising geopolitical tensions and still high inflation, a robust recovery remaining elusive. Global growth almost halved last year to 3.4% of the impact of the Ukraine crisis, slowing the recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, even if emerging markets in Asia has a substantial increase in economic output. India and China are forecast to account for half of the growth this year, that she recognized during the press conference.
Despite surprisingly resilient labor markets and strong consumer demand, despite the uplift in China, we expect the world economy to grow less than 3% this year. And you will see in our World Economic Outlook that is coming next week that growth remains historically weak now and in the medium term. But with rising geopolitical tensions, With inflation still running high, a robust recovery remains elusive, and that harms the prospects of everyone, especially for the most vulnerable people and the most vulnerable countries.
Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Belarusian counterpart on Thursday discussed expanding economic cooperation and strengthening defense ties between the two countries. The Kremlin talks were attended by senior officials from both countries and followed Putin's Wednesday meeting along with Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko. At the meeting, Putin signaled that he will continue to strengthen the security of the Union stated to ensure the sustainable and progressive social and economic development. Last month, Putin declared that his country planned to station some of its tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus. The announcement was Moscow's response to the United Kingdom's announcement to supply Ukraine with ammunition, including armored persistent shells containing depleted uranium.
The beginning of work on the Union State security concept that we have put on the media's agenda and discussed today is of great significance. These documents will include fundamental tasks of our cooperation amid growing tensions outside the borders of our countries and amid sanctions and the informational war unleashed against us. Naturally, it is worth working substantively on strategic plans. We will continue further strengthening to the security of the Union State in order to guarantee sustainable and progressive social and economic development.
On Thursday, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that enlargement of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization causes problems and security concerns in Russia. The high-ranking official points out NATO is expanding towards Russia's border. It is not Russia that is approaching the alliance's border with its military infrastructure, and this causes its problem and affects our security. Peskov added that this concern causes Russia to take measures for its defense and try to rebalance the entry security architecture on the continent, and this happens every time NATO approaches its border. On March 25th, President Vladimir Putin announced that Moscow and Minsk had agreed to deploy Russian tactical weapons, nuclear weapons in Belarus without violating international commitments. Finland's outgoing Prime Minister Sanna Marin submitted the resignation request of her government to President Sauli Niinistö on Thursday following the parliamentary elections last weekend. The Social Democratic Party will serve as an interim cabinet until the formation of a new government. The process will begin next week under the guidance of the Conservative National Coalition Party that won the election. The Social Democratic Party came in third on Sunday's elections that Sanna Marin's hopes to sustain as a prime minister. Sanna Marin, who has been premier since 2019, is a highly popular figure internationally and at home, but acknowledged that her premiership had put a strain on her personality. The United Nations Children's Funds Program, UNICEF, reported on Thursday that of the 105,129 irregular migrants arriving in Italy during 2022 through the central Mediterranean road, 13,386 were unaccompanied children, the 12.73% of the total. The report also added of 914 migrants missing in the Mediterranean Sea during 2022. A total of 64 were minors. Last year, the Italian reception system received 20,189 unaccompanied minors, a sharp increase of 64.0% compared to 2021 and 184.0% 0.0 percentage points compared to the figures recorded in 2020. A growth largely due to the arrival of more than 170,000 migrants from Ukraine since the beginning of the conflict in the country. teleSUR English continues to grow. You can now tune in from 33 different African countries through StarSat. Dial 461 and join our Latin American alternative broadcast. One financial break, I will be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back. The Israeli army on Thursday for the second consecutive day deployed an airstrike on the Gaza Strip. Israeli planes bombed the coastal enclave home to more than 2 million people. The occupying army ships also opened fire from the coast, and a drone launched at least one missile on a target in the UNASUR refugee camp located in the central part of the territory. Bombs were also reported in the northern city of Belahaye. Israeli forces confirmed the attack and alleged that it was in response to the firing of several rockets from the Palestinian territory. Israeli forces stormed the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem on Wednesday night for the second consecutive day. Palestinians worshippers were holding evening prayers. At least 20,000 worshippers were praying in the Qibli prayer hall during the holy month of Ramadan, when heavily armed Israeli policemen stormed the hall. The Israeli military attacked the worshippers with stun grenades, tear gas, and rubble cotton steel bullets to forcibly expel them from the holy site. This attack resulted in 6 injured and several suffocating from the build-up of the tear gas reported the Palestinian Red Crescent Society. This is the second consecutive attack in the Al-Aqsa Mosque in less than 24 hours. On Thursday in Sudan, demonstrators gathered on the anniversary of the 1985 and 2019 aspiring that eventually total 2 leaders had seized power through CAP. In anticipation of the demonstrations, authorities declared Thursday a non-working day, but demonstrators denounced heavy military presence in the streets of Khartoum since Wednesday. Sudan is still ruled by military leader General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, who seized power in October 2021 coup, aborting the transition to civilian rule agreed after the 2019 ascent of Islam General Omar al-Bashir, who seized power in 1989 coup. The forces from Freedom and Change call on Sudanese to demonstrate for freedom, peace, and justice, and against the return of an ancient regime. Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullah met his counterpart from Saudi Arabia, Prince Faisal Farad Al Saud, in Beijing, capital of China, on Thursday after vowing the repair diplomatic ties. The head of diplomacy of both nations discussed the reestablishment of bilateral relations, the executive steps for the reopening of embassies and consulates, as well as other issues of common interests at the meeting prompted by China. Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim said on Thursday that China is willing to negotiate with his country on the establishment of an Asian monetary fund in an effort to reduce dependence of the US dollar. In the preliminary meeting, Anwar Ibrahim shared that during his official visit to China, he met with the General Secretary of the Communist Party and President of China Xi Jinping, who applauds such initiative and expressed his interest in negotiations and the promotion of the establishment of such monetary fund. The Malaysian premier emphasized that his country has no reasons to remain dependent on the dollar, and at present, the central bank is working to create favorable conditions for both nations to negotiate on trade issues through the use of their national currency. The European Fire Monitoring System released on Thursday data on the behavior of forest fires in Spain in 2023. The report showed that forest fires have already devastated more than 46,000 hectares, half of the area burned in the entire European Union, making that until the first week of April has doubled the average rate of hectares burned in the last decade. The most serious fires has been those that have affected the provinces of Castellón and Teruel, with 4,781 hectares rise. We have come to the end of this is brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram as well. For Telesur English, I'm from the South, I'm Ana Marrero, and thank you for watching.